Hi and welcome to the Running Channel. I'm Anna, and today, along with Andy, Kate and Rick, we're going to be giving you some running podcast inspiration.
Yep, we're going to be telling you about our favourite podcasts in the running world.
What we listen to on the run and some suggestions for you to try too.
First up, if you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon to get notified when we upload new videos about running, which we do every single week.
Run Pod is one of my favourite podcasts to listen to whilst I'm running. It really feels like you've got a friend in your ear who's running alongside you. So the host, Jenny Faulkner, has a load of inspiring guests on each week, and you really kind of get invested in what they're saying and you want to keep listening. Then before you know it, you've run 10k and it didn't even feel like it. So here's one of the episodes that Jenny did with Dame Kelly Holmes.
Why do you love running?
Freedom just makes you feel good, and also because I'm quite good at it, it's all right.
I love it because I'm good at it and I win medals.
I can't swim, so it's like, don't put me in a pool. I'm not very good at swimming. I'd hate that, but because I can run, it's like, yeah, great.
So Jenny is actually a friend of mine. I used to work with her reading news bulletins on her radio station. So Jenny has been on the Running Channel. You might have seen the video already. If you haven't, check it out. It's our Running With video where I went for a run with her and interviewed her. And then in exchange, she got me back on Run Pods to interview me.
The Back Straight Boys and Girl is a podcast hosted by athletics fans Jodie, Bayo and Claire, talking all things athletics. Now, with my background, I'm a big fan of anything that shines a light on the world of track and field, and you can really hear the passion that these guys have. They put out a new episode roughly every month or more if there's more going on, and they have some amazing guests like Christina Harugu and Ailish McColgan. With reviews like an athletics fan's dream podcast, if that's you, then why not check it out?
My other favourite athletics thing, actually, I just want to say, whilst we're saying things that entertained us via Twitter about athletics, did you two see Britney Spears' tweet earlier?
Oh, about her running 100 metres in 5.9 seconds. What?
Yeah, Britney Spears reckons that she ran a sub-6 100 metres today.
I've actually got it. Literally. I've literally got it in front of me. Hold on, I've got it in front of me. Just pure chance. It's just the last thing on Twitter. So she put on Instagram, she put the timing, taken from her phone, of 5.97 seconds. And she's written underneath, ran my first 5. Getting over your fear of pushing it in the beginning is key. Once I did that, I hit 5. Usually I run 6 or 7. My first try was 9. And now I did it. Whoop, 100 metre dash.
Well Far is a weekly podcast hosted by Amy Lane, who is the digital editor at Women's Health magazine. And it's a mix of chats with interesting people and some guided work like conditioning or some post-run stretching perhaps. As you'd expect from the Women's Health digital editor, it is aimed mainly towards women. And actually recently she's been talking about her pregnancy and running throughout that.
So how did you get into being a sports bra tester and specialist?
Yeah, so it's crazy because a lot of people don't think that this is an actual job. I wouldn't have if you'd have told me. So yeah, as soon as I finished my degree at Loughborough University, I was fortunate enough to get a research position in the lab at the institute. And I was testing the performance of sports bras in a lab for a number of the top brands in the world. And what this involved is that women would need to run on a treadmill or do some kind of dynamic movements while wearing the bra, while placing some 3D motion markers on them. And therefore we could then measure the movement of your boobs during motion while wearing those specific sports bras.
Running the show is fronted by my old mate and Radio 1 colleague Dev Griffin and Sam Thompson from Made in Chelsea. They were going for the London Marathon before it was postponed. They're seeing what it takes as first-time marathon runners with the help of nutritionalists, mindfulness gurus, and a whole lot of decent trainers.
Okay, so we've just found you a tool in life that helps you feel better.
How amazing is that?
Cool? Yeah, that's really cool. So stop abusing it. Ben should listen to his body, and Ben should take his foot off the pedal, let go of potentially any ego about having to go slower or not go as far.
I do have ego.
We all have ego.
I'm Ben, by the way.
We all have ego. We all have ego, and that's driven by culture, right? Because what's the first thing that people ask you on a Monday morning? What time did you do it in, right? So we get this outside noise. We don't look for outside view, but we do listen to outside noise. Outside noise is culture screaming at you that the picture of success of your marathon is time.
Yeah.
Right?
This podcast is essentially the story of these guys starting from scratch. And if you've not been running for a while, or maybe you're getting back into it, you kind of hear about all those niggles and struggles you have while you're relearning the ropes, if you like. You also get to hear from some really great experts on it about how to overcome some of those hurdles that we hit and really make us into the best runner that we want to be.
The Rich Roll podcast has been a companion of mine on many a long run, and actually even on ultras as well. Rich Roll has some super inspiring guests on, and it's not all about running. It's actually got lots to do with sort of wellness, spirituality, and lots of different ways that you can try and improve your own lives as well, but without being too preachy. So these are more conversations than interviews, and you can really tell that Rich Roll and his guests just get on so well. The chemistry comes through in the stories that they tell. And this was a particular favourite episode of mine with David Goggins, the ex-Navy SEAL.
We waste so much time on our little gadgets. It's unreal. And we talk about we have no time. If you really you have to take your day and write down this one day. Everything you do, write that down. And you're like, my God, I am wasting so much time on frivolous bullshit. It's not even funny. I mean, it will, if it doesn't infuriate you, it should. Because there's so much time. I can't get it in. Look at your schedule. You just wasted 7 hours today on bullshit. I mean, and you don't have an hour a day to try to get something in for yourself. I guarantee everybody can find an hour.
Then it becomes about willingness.
Yeah.
Because most people just they're not willing to get up that early or to make those sacrifices required. So it's a function of how badly do you want to change your life, and what are you willing to endure to craft that life that you aspire to have, or do you just want to talk about it?
Every week on the Ali on the Run show, host Ali Feller, who's a freelance writer amongst other things, speaks to inspiring people who lead interesting lives on the run and beyond. Running's the common denominator, but the conversations themselves focus on the decisions that people have made to get where they are today. There are 3 episodes every week, and you can dive in and listen in any order. In this episode, Ali speaks to Nell Rojas, who finished 9th in the Olympic US marathon trials in only the 3rd race over that distance.
You had said, I think on Instagram, you said if you had to pick one experience from which you learned the most lessons in your life, in your career, it would be this race and the training leading up to it. I'd love to learn, what are some of those lessons?
Oh, well, first of all, that everyone is human, and even these girls that, this was the highest caliber race I've ever run against, the best women in the US and the world. And, in my mind, and I'm sure in a lot of people's minds, like, these are like not real humans. They're like perfect and impossible to catch and run with. But, obviously the 3 that, were probably supposed to make the team didn't make the team for one reason or another. So I learned that lesson.
Now, I had to include the NHS's Couch to 5K podcast because that's how I started running, and it's how thousands, if not more, of other people started running too. It's a series of simple guided walk runs, to get you from the couch to running 5K in about 9 weeks. But you can go back, you can skip weeks, you can do weeks again, you can come back to it at any time. It's an incredible resource, and I really think it's just completely amazing that we have this thing for free.
It's time to slow down now. Well done. Keep walking. You now need to recover with a brisk walk for 90 seconds before your next run.
Work, Play, Love, great title, is a podcast by the parents of 2 young children. Jessie Thomas, who's an Ironman competitor and triathlete, and Lauren Fleshman, who is an author and marathon runner. And they talk about how they balance their lives with raising children and their fitness regime. They also answer listener questions on different sports, business and fitness, and how they keep it all going together at the same time in their weekly uploads.
I do think that it's really hard to have a super healthy, balanced family life while you're training at a high level for an Ironman.
Well, and this person works full time.
And they work, yeah, exactly. And they work full time. So I think that what we've talked about a lot through this podcast is you have phases of heavy training where there are other parts of your life that get sacrificed to a certain extent. That could be work or that could be family. And as long as you're cycling through those in appropriate amount of time and phases, then overall it nets out to balance and maybe healthy balance. But you have to have the people that you're involved with in those other aspects of your life support that, and they have to be part of the process. That could be your coworkers or your boss or whatever, but most importantly, your family, your kids, and whoever else it is.
Trail Runner Nation aims to give tips and advice on trail running from beginners all the way up to pros. So you can expect discussions around nutrition, pacing strategies, and more recently, and a really interesting conversation about whether fastest known time attempts could replace racing later in this year because of the current COVID-19 pandemic, meaning that a lot of the races are postponed or cancelled. So some really interesting topics of debate. And there's definitely something that road runners and trail runners alike can take from this weekly podcast.
Why did you put that one in there, Jimmy? Remember where you came from.
Well, I think, this catches up to all of us when you've been doing it for a while. And especially those of us that, you run a bit in your 20s or 30s or 40s, and then you get to a point where you're still doing it, but at least at most of the distance that you race at, your PR days are behind you. And you can get very frustrated looking at your watch and doing a particular run that and thinking to yourself, I remember when I did this in 7:45 pace, and now I'm at 9:15 pace. And I think that, when we're in that comparative analysis paradigm, we're always comparing ourselves to be less than someone else, less than ourselves at a different period. And the idea is to get focused on that we're improving now, not on that we aren't as fast or aren't as fit as a different period of time.
The Clean Sport Collective is made up of athletes, brands, events, clubs, fans, and the general public who all support clean sport through the absence of performance-enhancing drugs. The show focuses on athletics and cycling, and the hosts speak to a whole range of different people about their experiences competing at the highest level when the playing field is not always equal.
You had a rope-a-dope strategy of sorts in that race. Talk about it, Bob.
Oh, that was getting beat by Adam in 1999, having the Olympic trial that I had in 2000. I was struggling emotionally. I had some other minor injuries in 2001, some similar things Adam was talking about of just didn't feel right. And I was training in May in Palo Alto with Kim and a group of Kenyans and some others, and it just hit me going into the trials. I'm like, not trials, but the Nationals 2001, which is in Eugene, that I got to do something different. Like, if I just run a race, he's going to destroy me.
So author, journalist, and full disclosure, friend of mine, Darren Anfin, launched his own podcast earlier this year, and it's titled Way of the Runner after one of his 3 books. You may know his cult classic, when he went to live in Kenya for 6 months and train like the Kenyans. It's an interview format, 30 minutes, talking to some really, really interesting people. He's had so far Ronnie O'Sullivan, a snooker player and amazing runner, and the also incredible Christy Wellington. So really looking forward to new guests on his show as well.
It's great that you can surprise people and,
Yeah, I think it's to be honest, it's one of my best. People ask me what my best achievements were, and I always say running 34 minutes for a 10k, winning a couple of races at my club, coming through the tape, the first through the thing.
It's an amazing feeling, yeah.
Yeah, it's a brilliant feeling, and so people ask me, "Well, your greatest shit?" And I go, "Well, they were, obviously the 2012 World Championship, 2013." It was good.
Or what you mean, even above?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When I look at all my achievements of stuff that I've done, I put the running up there above.
Even above the World Championship?
Yeah, because the World Championship, I don't know, I just didn't know, I'd already been world champion, but them particular world championships were very satisfying because of the way I played, and I just felt like I couldn't play any better, and it was very satisfying. But actually, the buzz that I got from winning that race, I sat down on the water and I got my £100 winning voucher and I got like a Lucozade and a t-shirt. I was like, I can't believe I was really so happy.
Kelly Roberts, founder of the Badass Lady Gang, fronts the Run, Selfie, Repeat podcast. What I really like about this one is it's really succinct. They range from about 12 minutes to 30 minutes. She talks about life with a side of running, and she describes it herself as a weekly pep talk, which I think is pretty apt actually. She talks about setting the little goals, little bits of motivation on how to get to the next step on your running journey, and she has a bit of a laugh with it along the way.
So for decades, we've been using this chart that has been bogus since the beginning. And for decades, we've been told that we need to lose weight in order to be healthy, and none of us are in control, and we're doing all these horrible things, and we should be hungry. It makes me so mad. Health is not a look, it is a lifestyle. And yes, you can be larger and healthy. You can eat a balanced diet that includes sometimes sweets or alcohol or things. Like, you cannot tell someone's level of health by looking at them. A healthy person is not someone who eats, sleeps, and breathes vegetables 24/7 and eats teensy tiny little bits and are never ever hungry and can sit in a room with a Kit Kat bar and say like, oh, I have no desire for that Kit Kat bar ever. It's okay to have a Kit Kat bar every once in a while if that's what you're into. It's also okay not to want a Kit Kat bar. Everything we've been told is a lie.
We really hope that there's a podcast in there that takes your fancy.
Let us know in the comments below which ones you'll be giving a go.
Or maybe we missed out your favourite running podcasts in this list. What do you listen to when you're out running? We'd love to know in the comments below, and we can include it on our next podcast roundup.
Don't forget to subscribe to the running channel, and we'll see you next time.